Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we are going to take a look at another of these brand new PNSO figures, and this is probably my most anticipated of the newer PNSO figures because it is my favorite species of dinosaur of all time. This, quite clearly, if you look in the bottom right-hand corner, is Domingo the Carnotaurus. I am over the moon excited about the fact that PNSO has finally created a Carnotaurus. They did have a Carnotaurus bookend that they had released quite a ways back, but they had never released a figure of a Carnotaurus, not even one of those mini figures or anything. So that would make this probably what I would think would be the very first Carnotaurus in the PNSO line as far as a figure goes, because again, previously we've only had the bookend, but as far as the image here on the front of the box goes, we have a beautiful image of Domingo the Carnotaurus, as well as an image down here kind of showing off the jaw articulation, and then the logo of PNSO, and then the name of the species there up here on the top of the box. Another gorgeous image of the head sculpt of Domingo, and then on the back pretty much the same deal, but now in Chinese. So let's break this box open and take a look at my most anticipated PNSO figure in a very long time. As per usual, we have the booklet here that you continuously get with PNSO. I love these booklets. Really nice image of course, Domingo right there on the front of the booklet. And then once we open it up and take a look inside, we have some more really nice images of the Carnotaurus, as well as an image of the skeletal structure up there, and then some information on PNSO and Carnotaurus himself. So really exciting to have these included continuously on the part of PNSO, because they're just an absolutely awesome addition to some unbelievably beautiful figures. And then we have Domingo himself, and that is one incredible looking Carnotaurus figure. Man, PNSO has just been absolutely knocking each and every one of their figures straight out of the park, and this Carnotaurus is definitely another prime example of that. I really love the paint scheme they've gone with here. A lot of people are kind of making some negative comments about the continuous usage of browns on the PNSO figures, but I actually really quite like it, and this one here is a much darker brown than a lot of the previous PNSO figures we've seen, so it's nice to see that even though they're sticking with browns for a lot of different figures, they're using different shades and everything, so I really quite like it actually, and I think the overall paint scheme on this is extremely appealing looking, but the sculpt is just absolutely off the charts magnificent. Really psyched to take a closer look at this, so let's go ahead and do that right now. So starting up here at the head sculpt of Domingo, you can see some beautiful scale detail is really nicely applied to the head sculpt. Gorgeous detailing as always when it comes to a PNSO sculpt. You can also see the nostrils are nicely sculpted there at the tip of the snout, and they're also highlighted with a pinkish coloration. The eyes are painted perfectly. Really nice painted pupil in there as well, and they do appear to have a bit of a gloss coat, so they shine quite nicely. Really nice paint application to the face as well. You have quite a few different variations of lighter and darker browns, even including what appear to be like some grays within the upper part of like the snout area. You can also see some areas that sort of seem to have like a light gray wash as well. Really nice looking head sculpt, a nice and thin skull shape like you would expect to see on a Carnotaurus as well. The horns up there on the top, those kind of trademark Carnotaurus horns, are really nicely sculpted as well. You can see some beautiful detailing within. They appear to have been given a nice dark wash to highlight that detail, but the actual paint application as well is really nicely done. I like how it starts out with kind of a similar brown to the body color here, but then transitions to like a lighter coloration for the tips. Nice smooth transition as well. Taking a look over here at this side of the head. Again, it looks really beautiful. Very nicely done as far as the sculpting and detailing aspect of the figure. You can see so many different varying sizes of scales in the head sculpt of the Carnotaurus, and again, the beautifully painted eyes. They look really good. The jaw is articulated if we can get it to open. That can actually open really wide. Look at how wide that mouth goes. That looks really cool now that it's open that far. You can also see the teeth are really quite small, but they're quite nicely painted for the most part. I mean, you can see that the paint looks a little thick in certain areas, but considering how small the teeth are, it's not out of the question that that would happen. It's kind of understandable. Teeth also look really quite nicely painted over here on the opposing side. This side's a little hard to get to due to the Carnotaurus having its head turned so sharply to the left. The inside of the mouth as well looks really quite nice. Like you could see a beautiful, very nice gloss coat added in there, and some extremely nice detailing. Again, the fact that the Carnotaurus's mouth opens so wide really helps with the overall appeal factor, I think, as far as I'm concerned. with just how cool it looks, but also giving you a really nice opportunity to see inside the mouth and get a good idea of what that detailing looks like in there. You can really see the gloss coat shining quite nicely there, as well as, again, some of the nice texturing to the inside of the mouth. And then looking right here, look how amazing that looks, where you can see kind of into the back of the throat of the Carnotaurus, as well as the detailing here on the upper jaw on the inside of the mouth. It is all unbelievably well done. That is just insane detailing in that area. As you move back into the neck, you can see some nice wrinkles, some nice creasing right there, of course, because the Carnotaurus has its head turned quite sharply to the left, so you would see that action occurring in the skin there in the neck region. That's really nice attention to detail on the part of PNSO. And as you start to move down here into the neck, you can see some really beautifully textured skin, as well as, again, some really nice wrinkling here and there, like you can see some more right there. But you can also pick up on some osteoderms, which is something that you quite often see associated with Carnotaurus, kind of like rows of osteoderms and scutes. And it looks really good the way that they've applied them here. A little more subtle, I would say, than most companies as far as the way that they've applied those. You can also see some ridges that start right here on the top of the neck and then run down the course of the body, and some beautiful striping, very abundant striping that continues to run down the course of the body as well. Once we move down here into the body itself, you can see those very nice short Carnotaurus arms like we all know and love. You can see some beautiful scale detail in the arms as well. And the arms actually taper off to white hands, which was a really cool little touch that they've applied there, just giving some extra color variation. And there's another area of the body that occurs with, which is actually at the tip of the tail, which I hadn't noticed previously as far as like the promotional images and everything go. I did not notice that little white tip at the end of the tail, which you'll see here in a moment. But you can see how smooth those stripes are applied to the body of the Carnotaurus. They look great, and the detailing on this is insane. Lots of really nice movement shown within the skin of the Carnotaurus as usual, but just like pretty much every PNSO figure that we've looked at recently, again, the detailing aspect of the figure is just off the charts. There's just so much vibrant, beautiful detailing included within this figure that it is honestly mind-boggling how good the detailing aspect of the figure is. Really incredible work on the part of PNSO. As you move back here into the hip region, you can see the hip elaborated from the body a little bit right there, as well as some more of those very large scutes and osteoderms back here. As we move down into the thighs, some very nice musculature is quite beautifully present, and that continues as we move down into the calf region. Lots of beautiful color variation as well. You can see the kneecap present here in the front of the leg, and then we move down into the foot. The foot has some nice rows of scutes that run down along the foot down into the toes. The nails are beautifully painted as far as a whitish coloration, given a bit of a gloss coat. The feet look very bird-like, which is also a huge plus. I think the feet overall, as far as the actual sculpt and detail aspect goes, is incredible. But the paintwork as well, you can also see a transition to a darker brown on the feet in comparison to the somewhat lighter brown that we see up here. And there's actually a few different variations of like lighter browns and almost like orangish browns included within the figure as well. And then moving back here into the tail, you can kind of get a sense of the skin being stretched off of the tail with this leg pulling forward. But you can also see, again, the detailing aspect is incredible as far as like the skin texture, the beautiful osteoderms, and all of that fun stuff. As we move out the length of the tail, that paintwork continues to look incredible as well. Very nice, very lifelike. And then here is the transition to that white area at the tip of the tail. It actually transitions to a white and then has a brown spot here at the end. I really like that. I think that's a very cool little small touch to the paint application that, again, I think is really quite nice. I actually do really like that. And then if we take a look at the opposing side, again, over here, you're not going to see as much wrinkling or anything going on. You'll see more stretching occurring as far as the skin goes because, of course, the Carnotaurus has its head turned to the left, so it would really be stretching that skin, and that is beautifully shown within the sculpt. You could see some more of those osteoderms and everything present within the neck region of the Carnotaurus, some more of those really nice looking stripes that again litter the entire side of the dinosaur, the entire back area actually, but then also throughout the side, the legs and everything. You can also see some gorgeous detailing here in the throat region, as well as just generally the throat itself is quite nicely defined there on the underside of the neck. As we move back into the body, you can again see the really nice Carnotaurus arm sculpt, nice and small, like we would expect it to be. You can see the transition to that whitish coloration out there on the hands, just like we had seen on the previous side. And you can really see how insanely nice the detailing is here in the stomach region of the Carnotaurus, with so many osteoderms and scutes and everything all over the place. And just generally the scale detail is incredible on this figure. I am absolutely head over heels in love with the sculpt on this Carnotaurus. You can also see a different side of the dinosaur here on the underside as far as like the scaling goes. It's a totally different style of sculpt as far as that scale detail goes, but it looks really good. Nice white coloration for the underbelly of the Carnotaurus. You can really see the skin stretching off of the body there as the Carnotaurus is pulling this leg back. As this leg is stepping forward, this leg is trailing, really stretching that skin, and that is beautifully shown in the sculpt as per usual when it comes to a PNSO figure. Again, you have the hip bone present up here, some more incredible osteoderms and everything over here on the thigh region as we move down. Some nice creasing here in the knee as this leg is starting to bend, again really creasing that skin. Looks quite nice, and you can also see again the kneecap over here, and then we move down into the foot. That foot is just starting to pick up off of the ground. It looks beautiful as far as the sculpt goes, again really nicely portraying a bird-like foot, and then some more incredible paintwork here on the feet. Really nice gloss coat again to the nails. You can also see that the dew claw is present over here, and you can see that here again on that foot as well. But then leading back up into the body, you can see that the skin is kind of bunching and wrinkling right there because that leg here is pushing into the tail, as well as the tail actually bending toward that leg, so it's really scrunching that skin up, and that looks really nice as well. And then we lead out the length of the tail. The skin texture continues to look incredible. Beautiful osteoderms, ridges that run along the spinal column of the Carnotaurus, and we transition back to that white out here, and then again the stripes look incredibly nice. Even the detailing on the underside of the Carnotaurus back here in the tail region is beautiful. You can see there is a nice dark wash present, which makes all that detail pop quite beautifully. So once again, another incredible sculpt from PNSO, but also another incredible paint job. This figure is awesome. As far as a length goes on our Carnotaurus, you are going to see the Carnotaurus come in at about 9¼ inches, or about 23.5 centimeters. And then for a height, the highest point would definitely be the neck region. It's about 4.5 inches, or around 11.5 centimeters. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, and Robert Muldoon from the Mattel Jurassic World toy line. Our usual review size comparison suspects next to Domingo the Carnotaurus. And you can definitely see next to these figures here that Domingo sports a pretty decent size overall, honestly. Pretty nicely sized, nice and slender and long Carnotaurus. And I think you should hopefully have a good idea of the fact that it is a bit on the larger size. I would say medium approaching large would be this Carnotaurus. And for a second size comparison, here is Domingo the Carnotaurus next to our recent PNSO figure that we just reviewed, the Maragaya, and you can definitely see again next to this Carnotaurus and next to the Maragaya that both of these actually sport a pretty similar size as far as like length and everything goes. Of course, the Carnotaurus being a little taller since it is a bipedal animal, but I would say both are pretty much in that same size range of medium approaching large. And hopefully if you are interested in both of these figures, you'll have a pretty good idea of how they size up to each other. So this brand new PNSO Carnotaurus is absolutely fantastic if you ask me. I have pretty much been hoping and praying that at some point in time PNSO would get around to creating a Carnotaurus, and they finally have, and it has exceeded my expectations in every possible way. They without question nailed every aspect of the figure, I feel like, especially when it comes to the detailing department, which is something that you can often say about any PNSO figure. They always give you a tremendous sculpt, but this one was specifically really important to me because it's my favorite dinosaur, so I really wanted to get this in hand, take a look at it, and hope and pray that it was as beautiful as the promotional images had led me to believe it would be, and it really, truly is. It's a gorgeous interpretation of a Carnotaurus. They've nailed pretty much every aspect that I like to see on my Carnotaurus figures, and provided me with easily one of my favorite Carnotaurus now in my collection. The detailing aspect of the figure is really nicely done, including pretty much every ounce of detail you would expect to find as far as movement, as per usual when it comes to PNSO, but yet again, they are on quite the streak of really providing, again, very vibrant detailing on their figures, just like every figure that I think I've reviewed for the past probably 6 or 7 PNSO figure reviews. I've really been impressed with the overall vibrant detail included, and that's pretty much the only way I can really describe the detailing aspect as far as how nicely it shines on the figures, is just that it's so vibrant, and it really is I think, more impressive than what most companies are producing currently as far as how good that detail truly looks. And then, of course, we have the paint scheme. The paint scheme is really quite nicely done. It's nothing over the top, nothing incredible, but I feel like it's really nice, really natural for the species, and it's beautifully applied with many different variations of orangish browns and lighter and darker browns. And then we have those nice stripes that run throughout the entire figure as far as the coloration goes, really providing a very striking look, I think, for the figure. And then they just top it off with that little white transition there at the tip of the tail, just for that extra color variation, but something that I really quite am a fan of. And they continue to provide a paint scheme on the actual factory released figure that, in my opinion, is just as impressive as the promotional images had led me to believe it would be. So it's nice to see paint schemes and paint applications that match up so closely to what the original promo images showed us, and this is yet another example of that, I feel. As far as the PNSO line goes, they've really been hammering out some incredible figures, again, sculpt-wise, but also paint-wise recently. And then we also have the inclusion of the articulated jaw, which I really like. I like the fact that it can open really wide, and it's very articulated, as in it moves really nicely. It stays in pretty much any position you would like, so that does allow some posability with your figure. It's also got a really nice pose to it. Nothing, again, over the top or crazy or dynamic, but just a nice walking pose with the Carnotaurus turning its head, and I really think it looks quite nice overall. So as a whole, this figure is absolutely awesome, and definitely one of my favorite PNSO figures of all time. So if you would like to pick this up, I will include a link in the description to where you can do just that, so make sure you check that description. Go buy this fantastic PNSO Carnotaurus, and make sure you also like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.